I'm going to turn it over to Lauren in just a second, but if everyone could keep yourself muted for us, that would be greatly appreciated. We have a full workshop today, max capacity. So we're super excited, but that does mean that we're going to need everyone to stay on mute for the whole workshop. We do have a lot to cover, and this is super exciting. I'm letting more people into the waiting room, but please mute your microphone for the duration of the workshop, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. And I'm turning it over to Lauren.
Good morning, brave storytellers. You know what's so cool about this? I am old enough to remember Hollywood Squares. This feels like a mega Hollywood Squares. And I'm like scrolling through to see everyone's beautiful faces. Again, my name is Lauren Hope. I was in a This Is My Brave show 2 years ago. I'm now producing one in the Hampton Roads area, and I have the great fortune of facilitating this workshop with you. We're going to get started around 11:05, but as Jen mentioned, I'll remind you of this again, everyone will be muted upon entry, and then we just want everyone to keep their audio on mute. That just helps minimize any background noise, dogs, kids, this, that, and the third. But there will be an opportunity for you to engage with us. There is a chat box on Zoom, if you're familiar with that. At the very bottom, it says chat. That's the best way to speak with me. Our program, hi, there she is. She's right on cue. Our program manager, This Is My Brave, Katie, will be in the chat box area, moderating, feeding me some information and things like that. So we're at 11:03. So while we're waiting, I'd love for you to post how you learned about this workshop. Was it Instagram, Facebook? Did a friend tell you? Was it the This Is My Brave newsletter? Let us know, because that lets us know how. Saw it through an email. That's awesome, Ari. Coworker, yes, coworker. Twitter. Oh my gosh, this is amazeballs, Katie. I'm sorry, I'm taking your job away.
Go for it. If you can read it, you go for it. They're flying
Chat box right here is telling me where everybody saw it from. A lot of people got it from the This Is My Brave email. Awesome sauce. That's so great. Facebook, great. Awesome. I also love that I'm seeing some folks from last week's workshop. This is a two-parter, so you're in part 2. If you missed last week, that is okay. We're going to do it all over again next Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll talk about recovery stories, what that looks like. So, you know, it's all good. Just meet me back here again on Friday. So awesome. We've got some social media, a lot of social media folks, so that's really cool to see. I'm just going to shout out some people. Carissa, Isaac, I think I remember you from last week. Melissa, hello. Carissa. We have a Cindy. Oh, someone got an email from Nami. That rocks, in Austin. Oh gosh, I love Nami so much, so that excites me. Savannah. We have 2 Savannahs. Okay, awesome sauce. Yeah, that's so great. Cedric, thanks for coming. Awesome sauce. My good friend Regina Ann there, who's an author. We actually met on Twitter. That's amazing. And Anita says she was on last week's call. Cool beans, friends. All right. Again, Katie, I'm sorry. I just stole your thunder. You will get to hear from Katie again.
You go for it, girl.
All right. So Jen will continue to bring folks in, but because I have so much I want to share with you, we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen with you and hop right into the presentation. Here we go. Desktop 1, share. And here we are. We're going to play that slideshow. Don't we love PowerPoint? In college, we were like, what are we going to use this for? I'm using it, y'all. All right. Again, as we mentioned, everybody who's on Zoom will be muted. You will have an opportunity to chat with us in the chat box. At this view, I can't see that lovely chat thing, so Katie's going to help us out there. And hold your questions to the end. There will be an opportunity to engage with us through the chat option. Also, through email afterwards, if you want to connect with me, I'll let you know how to do that later. So here we go. So, oh, that was lovely. When you add a transition in there that you forgot about. All right, so this workshop, we're going to talk about, oh, sugar, I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah, hold on. That's my fault. This is the beginning of the slideshow. That's what you're going to see next week. Let me go to part 2. which is, here we are, play from current slide. That's what
Hey,
happens.
Lauren, real quick,
Yes.
just wanted to let everybody know that when you've registered, you will get the recording back. So if at any time you need to pop off the workshop, you will be able to receive the recording because you registered with us. So, and we'll send you that shortly after the webinar finishes.
Awesome. Thank you for that reminder. Has anyone ever seen that funny clip with Bill O'Reilly when he's live and he gets frustrated and he says, "We'll do it live"? That's what I felt with that moment just there. All right, we're back on track. So I had my This Is My Brave debut in Arlington, Virginia in 2018, but I actually heard about the program 2 years prior when I was writing my blog, Good Girl Chronicles, and hearing people's stories of living with mental illness and thriving with it really encouraged me to keep writing. So when I made my way to the This Is My Brave stage, I shared a story about what it's like to live with anxiety attacks. And those are the amazing pictures from that incredible, incredible day. So here's a little bit about me. I am a self-proclaimed girl boss. I own a business called Good Girl Chronicles. I'm a blogger, motivational speaker. I coach people on digital storytelling, and now I'm getting into branding and marketing. I'm currently going after a degree, a master's in strategic communications. I also had the fortune of being a television news reporter for over 5 years. I chased hurricanes, I chased bad guys, all of that good stuff. Journalism is a really interesting career that set me up for what I do now. And I'm a dog mom. I'm also a part of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention chapter right here in Virginia. So that's me, a little brief thing. So in the chat box, this is where you get to tune in. I'd love to hear where you're from, and or something interesting about yourself. It's like you have 5 cats, you speak 3 languages, whatever that may be. And Katie's going to give us a couple of responses.
All right. So we have Naya from Philadelphia, who's left-handed. Ari from Boston. Her cat's sitting on her lap. We have a student. Not sure what that is. I'm sorry. Isaac, Illinois. We have Laurel, Minneapolis. Jane, Annapolis. UMass Boston. Oh my gosh, we have so many things going on. Guys, you're all wonderful. I'm just not going to be able to say it all. We have DeKalb, we have Baton Rouge, Fort Collins, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Houston. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. Portland, Maine. Guys, welcome. You're all awesome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I am in Suffolk, Virginia, or as we call Hampton Roads, which is a compilation of 7 cities near Virginia Beach. That's what everybody knows us from. I'm close to Virginia Beach. So that's awesome. Welcome, folks. Welcome. So this workshop today is all about storytelling. So first, I wanted to take a moment and talk about the power of storytelling, because it really is quite powerful. We're the only animals that record our stories, right? And record our history through stories. That is, unless you believe Walt Disney, and that there are animals all around us with their own stories and dramas going on. Part of me likes to believe that, like Toy Story, when we leave, our toys are really having discussions. But an interesting thing about our stories is that our stories reflect our values, our morals, and our beliefs. I'm a big TV buff, because I used to be a journalist. So it's interesting to watch how our shows change, how the stories in those shows change, because it reflects changes in society. One of my favorite shows right now is This Is Us, and it shows families, what it looks like, somebody living with anxiety, right? In the Black community, no less. What it looks like to struggle with addiction and how that carries through generations, right? That reflects that we're in a society now that's brave enough to have those conversations out loud. Psychologists actually believe that storytelling binds us together. When we share our stories, where some spiritual folks say testifying, right? When we testify, when we show somebody how, look at that fire I came through, and I came through it, that inspires me that I can come through it too, right? Psychologists actually study this. And if we think about our early storytellers, cavemen who would write on the wall, history started to take the form of storytelling. We would tell fictional stories to tell people the values and the beliefs in our society. I think that we are in a digital storytelling age. If we think about the caveman who was telling stories around the campfire, where's our campfire now? It's online, right? It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's YouTube. That's where we're gathering to exchange our stories. So we have more power than ever right now when it comes to storytelling. All right, so we're gonna play a little game, get our juices flowing. Here's how it goes. It's called the storytelling game. I'm gonna recite the line of a famous movie, right? Then you're gonna guess the name of the movie. You're gonna put it in the chat section and then tell me how you felt. Was it, I felt funny, I felt silly, I remember when I cried. All right, here we go. Some of these movie references might show my age. Oh, did it too soon. All right, so here it is. Here's an example for you. Here's looking at you, kid. Has anyone seen this movie that just popped up here? If you've seen it, tell me how that movie made you feel. Was it like, oh, gut-wrenching, suspenseful? Katie, give me a couple of adjectives.
Let's see. Well, we've got people guessing Casablanca. Let's see. How did it make you feel when you saw that movie?
It's kind of a tearjerker, that movie.
Riveted.
Riveted, yes, that's a good word. I like that.
Melissa never finished it.
Melissa, that's your challenge this weekend. Finish Casablanca.
Tender.
Nice. Nice. Here's my next one for you, and I like this one. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. What movie is that line from? Oh, lots of comments.
Lots of Forrest Gump.
Correct.
Love.
That is the amazing story of Forrest Gump. You are very right. The resilient story of Forrest Gump. Now, here's my favorite one that I still use today. You're killing me, Smalls.
Sandlot.
Forget it. Nailed it, y'all. That is the epic American classic known as The Sandlot. So ask yourself, how come just that one line, boom, automatically, you remember how you felt and what that story was? That's the power of storytelling. Something about those three movies wove their story so well that it left an image on you, an impression on you that even years later, you still remember. Now you all are going to be saying, you're killing me, Smalls. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Brene Brown. She's a social worker turned research, and she researches a lot about shame, vulnerability. If you don't know who Brene Brown is, I encourage you to go down the rabbit hole, particularly for people in mental health storytelling. So Brene says, we need to have owned our stories before sharing them is experienced as a gift. All right, let me break down that part, right? So Brene says, I need to have made peace with my story first before it is a gift to somebody else. Now, in the beginning, right, when we haven't processed it, right, it's just sharing. You're helping me process it. We're healing together. But when it becomes like a motivational talk or a gift, is when we've made peace with it. A story is only ready to share when the presenter's healing and growth is not dependent on the audience's response to it, right? So my story is ready to go to the masses when I've made peace with it. I can see the lessons in it, and I'm not it doesn't depend on whether they stand up or they applause or whatever, because it's my story. I've owned it. When you're at that point, then you know that's a part of your story that you're ready to share. All right, so since this is my Brave highlight stories about mental health and substance use disorder and recovery, I wanted to talk a little bit, and this is a recap from last week, what is a strong recovery story? So our story should raise hope. We should demonstrate that getting over this challenging thing is possible. So in your story, ask yourself, how did I succeed? How did I triumph, right? That's the hope shot that you're gonna give to your listeners. Also, your story should educate people, bring them into your world. Many people don't know what it's like to live with a mental illness. Some people, nobody has the experience that you do. So bring me in, educate me on what that's like. And then make it real. Keep it to you. In my experience, this is how it affected me. So if you were in the last workshop, I left you with some homework, and I want to say, Regina, thank you, girlfriend, for sending in your responses. I looked at those. They were so great. So last workshop, I encouraged people to boil down their story into a simple sentence, right? A simple sentence is a subject, a verb, and an object. Why did I ask you to do that? Because sometimes I understand when you're sitting down to prepare a story, you're like, I have all of these ideas. My story is so huge. So forcing you to make one sentence, right, or a headline helps you focus, right? You're going to deliver the most impactful thing from this whole story. So I'm going to focus on my focus being reporter overcomes mental illness, right? That's what's going to be the focus of my story. And then I always ask myself, what do I want people to walk away with? Inspired to act, inspired to have a conversation, empowered, right? Reporter overcomes mental illness. And this is a talk that I give a lot. I want to tell people it's okay to tell people if you're struggling, because in my story, I'm going to show you how it impacted me because I didn't tell anybody, because I was afraid to talk and the shame and things like that, right? So this focus connects to that feeling, and that is a powerful talk. All right. So we're going to get to a point where I'm going to hear about your focuses. But I'm not going to spend too much time on story arc, but I want to let you know that generally most stories follow this arc. Very classic way to tell stories. There's an entry point, there's some type of hero's journey, or what we call the rising action, a climax, and then it all ties up pretty some way. Generally, since the beginning of time, that's how we tell stories. That's generally why we're uncomfortable when stories don't have resolutions. I don't know if you ever watched Sopranos. Sopranos did not have a resolution. At the very end, spoiler alert, it fades to black. I'm sorry, I've invested years of my life into Tony Soprano, and it fades to black? We're not gonna do that though. I suppose if you're in Hollywood and you're making big money, you can do that, but generally, people like to feel a resolution. Basically, that story arc is just saying most stories have an introduction, a middle, and an end. In the introduction, right? You grab me in. What's that thing that says, whoa, I've got to listen to this story. And now I'm in, I'm listening. You're going to build up the tension as we go through it. I kind of like to think of Little Red Riding Hood. Over the river and through the woods, right? You see this seemingly innocent girl. She's walking to the river, into the forest. And then it's like, who is this? It looks like a wolf, but it also looks like my grandmother. That's the rising action. We're in it. What's going to happen now that she's met this grandma wolf? And at the end, we realize that the wolf, spoiler again, I'm sorry, I'm just bursting everyone's dreams. The wolf ate the grandma. So basically, as you're telling your story, remember, bring me in the intro, give me some tension in the middle, and then give me a resolution. As we talk about motivational talks, we have what we call a call to action, right? What we want you to absolutely do after you've heard my talk. So, reporter overcomes mental illness, right? I'm going to say, you know what? Living in silence, right? It affected my mental illness. So because you've heard my story, I implore you, go out and talk to a therapist, a pastor, a trusted friend. There is freedom in speaking your truth, right? That's my call to action. Now, I love Pixar. So I want to show you a brief example of what I just said about story structure from my favorite movie of all time, Finding Nemo. Sure this is up.
Hi, I'm Kristen Lester, a story artist here at Pixar. Today we're going to talk about story structure, the way we organize and tell our stories. But before we begin, have you guys heard the joke about the mushroom that goes to the discotheque? A mushroom walks into a discotheque, and he walks up to a lady and he asks her to dance. She says, "Oh, gross, no, you're a mushroom." So he walks up to another lady and asks her to dance. "Man, I'm not interested. Lady after lady after lady. Rejected, rejected, rejected." Nobody wants to dance with him. Finally, the mushroom walks over to the bartender and he's so confused. He says, "I don't get it. Why does nobody want to dance with me? I mean, I'm a fun guy." See, this joke has a structure. It's got an opening, a build-up in the middle, and an ending, which is, the punchline. That structure is a big part of what makes it funny. Structure is the answer to the question, what do you want the audience to know and when? If you get the order wrong, it can be a real problem. Check it out. Hey, can I tell you a joke? All right, so there's this fun guy and shoot, I messed up the opening. Okay. Hey, can I tell you a joke? All right, so there's a mushroom who walks into a discotheque, and then there's a bartender there. Ah, darn it. I messed up the middle. Hey, can I tell you a joke? All right, so there's a mushroom who walks into a discotheque, and there's a bunch of ladies on the dance floor. He asks them to dance, and they say yes. Dang, without conflict, joke over. See, structure is important. Just as structure is a big part of telling a funny joke, it's also essential to making a movie that has the emotional impact you want on your audience. Shh, this is a great example. Nemo! In earlier versions of Finding Nemo, the structure of the story was very different than the final film. The director wanted to interweave scenes of Nemo's parents' lives before they had kids as flashbacks throughout the whole movie. So you would see them meet, hello, fall in love, and eventually move into their house at the drop-off in little scenes throughout the film. Oh, honey, it's beautiful. The main story of Marlin and Nemo and their journey was pretty much exactly the way it is now. But with the flashback structure, it wasn't until the end of the film that you would find out that Marlin's wife, Coral, look out! And all of her eggs were killed by a barracuda. When they showed the movie with this structure, they had one big problem. The audiences, well, they didn't like Marlin. Looking at their story structure, the team realized that in this version of the film, the audience didn't find out why Marlin was acting this way towards his son until the movie was almost over. So they decided to re-edit the movie and remove almost all of the flashbacks, leaving only the scenes where Coral and Marlin's home is attacked by the barracuda, killing Coral and all of her eggs, except for Nemo. They moved these scenes to the beginning of the movie.
I promise I will never let anything happen.
This change in the story structure changed the audience feelings about Marlin a lot. They knew right from the beginning how much Marlin had lost and how brave it was for him to go after Nemo, and they loved him for it. In the case of Finding Nemo, finding the problem was a matter of rearranging the story structure. Of course, all our movies are different, and their story structure challenges are too. In this lesson,
I'll pause there because that actually is a clip from like a lesson on storytelling from the folks at Pixar, which I might actually do afterwards because I'm a storytelling nerd. But I thought that it was a really interesting demonstration of the power of taking your people on a linear journey, and that even the folks in Hollywood deal with that. And if you've ever seen Finding Nemo, and if you hadn't, oh my gosh, you understand that when at the end where the seagull is in the window and he's like, hey, your dad did this, every time I get goosebumps, right? Because we remember the journey that Marlin went on. So when telling your story, right, give us those moments. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, what do I leave in and what do I leave out? I get it. Again, book nerd here. Who knows the difference between a biography and a memoir? A biography is, this is my entire life, right? I'm going to tell you from the beginning, the middle, and the end, the whole span of my life. And there's all these little stories in between. Now, a memoir is a slice of that journey. Show me a moment in time and really capture that. Sometimes memoirs are a compilation, but really, when we talk about storytelling and motivational speaking, particularly on stages, we're bringing people into a small moment. We're inviting them into our oral memoir, so to speak. So I want you to think about that when you're thinking about what part of my story do I share? All right, so you're saying to yourself, all right, Lauren, I get it. I'm gonna give you a slice of my story. But where do I begin? We're gonna start with that simple sentence that I had you all talk about. So the simple sentence, my simple focus is reporter overcomes mental illness. If we think about our story in the form of a tree, my focus is the trunk of the tree, the long part. That is the focus, right? And if you love to draw, go ahead and draw you a tree now. It doesn't have to look as beautiful as that clip art. And in the tree, put your focus of your story, right? The one thing you're gonna focus on in that story. Second, the branches, right? This is my branches. And the branches tell me the examples of that focus. So for me, reporter overcomes mental illness, right? Reporter discovered that therapy is amazing. Reporter discovered that there are more people living with mental illness than she ever knew, right? But this is my brave portion of my story. The reporter makes peace with her story and actually tells her friends that she lives with depression and anxiety, right? Those are the branches of my story. One more time for you. Here's that story trunk, okay? That's the focus of your story. I'm sure I see a lot of you drawing right now. I see you, Phyllis. I love it. I love people who take notes. Love it. So the base of your story, right? That's your focus right here. The branches. Those are the supporting evidence of that focus, right? If you're telling me that you're an overcomer, well, show me how you were an overcomer, right? What are their examples? What are the moments in your life, right? That's really the body of your talk. That's what you guys are going to do for your homework. Now, I do see we are closely approaching 1:30, so I do really want to hear from your story trunks, but not today. I would love for you to email me at lhope@thisismybrave.org. Also, I'll have Katie chime in on this. I believe that there are some amazing opportunities to share your story online, and you may be able to learn more about that. So, in that body of the talk, right? Be sure you ground me in the who, what, when, where, and how. Give me the color and the taste of your story, right? This is what people say, show, don't tell. People say, living with depression's tough. Now, I'm a very expressive person, so you heard in my voice and face that it's tough. But I just told you that. I could show you by saying, my depression was so unbearable. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't shower. I didn't do my hair. That is showing somebody what it's like to live in your experience. So ask yourself, when you're about to bring me into your personal story, show me what that looks like. I worked with one woman who went to the doctor for a massive anxiety attack. And as we were working on her story, she said, I remember the crisp white sheet over me, the beeping of the machines in the room. Whoa. That puts me right there in the room with her. I'm hearing the sights and sounds of being in the hospital. All right, again, if you want some help on fleshing out your stories, hey friends, the beauty of the pandemic is that I've got lots of time on my hands. You can email me at lhope@thisismybrave.org. Also, the wonderful program managers at This Is My Brave are going to help me with that too. Thanks for your support. Now, we understand that life is hard and tough right now, and a lot of us are regulating a lot of challenging emotions. So I wanted to be sure I told you about an amazing partnership that This Is My Brave is doing with BetterHelp. They are an online counseling service with licensed clinicians that you can do right online. So you can go to BetterHelp, and when you go to checkout, put This Is My Brave. That's right, Jen, give me a thumbs up. If you put in that discount code, you're going to get a month of free counseling. That freaking rocks. Now, I have to tell you, I know it might feel weird to do therapy online. I've been doing it with my therapist for the past month. It actually is not that bad. So if you want to screenshot that or save it, this opportunity right now to get free online counseling, see if it works out for you, go to betterhelp.com. In the checkout area, put This Is My Brave. Now, because This Is My Brave is all about connecting online, this Saturday at 2 p.m., they're doing something called Brave TV. And they're going to be talking to first responders about what it's like for them dealing with the COVID crisis. Because we know that storytelling saves lives. And when we share our stories, there's a release in that. And there's a bonding in that. So you can tune into Brave TV on Facebook on the This Is My Brave page at 2 p.m. You'll hear those stories. An amazing clinician I know, Leticia Lorian, who's our president of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Virginia. She'll be speaking also. She's a wealth of knowledge. And so yeah, just another way for you to engage. I love this part of storytelling. So sorry I took up so much time that I didn't get a lot of comments, but I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here so I can just hear from some of you. Am I back? I'm back. So while we're wrapping up here, I would love to hear in the comment section, do you feel inspired to tell your story? And if you do, tell me your 3 words, right? What's your headline? What's your subject line of your story? Because I know you're going to get to work on it this weekend. Heck yeah, Melissa says she is ready to tell her story. Oh, this lights my heart on fire. Oh, awesome, awesome. Also, Jen, do you want to chime in here? I see you're making a mention of Brave. No, she says no. She says it's good. Yes. Experience, strength, and hope. Yes, Stephanie, I love that. Let me just chime in there with Stephanie. Experience, strength, and hope. That's a lot of the ways that people coach people who are in 12-step rooms and recovery rooms on how to tell their story. So as you're writing this weekend, say, my experience is this, but my strength, right? Because that's where the good part of the story is this. And then what's my hope shot? Inspiration. From social anxiety to social, oh gosh, I legit am getting goosebumps reading these stories. Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool beans, man, this is good. This feedback helps because that means that like I've given you the excitement I have about storytelling, and I hope somehow we're able to connect again and I can read some of these stories and hear from them, but please shoot me an email. I love writing and I'd love to hear more about your stories. All right, we're at 11:32. I want to be mindful of your time and kind of conclude here. But again, please send me an email if you have any follow-up questions. And next week, we'll be doing part 1 of this story, right? Or part 1 of this workshop. And it'll focus a little bit more on recovery. And but yeah, I'd love to see those emails from you. So please don't forget that. And I'd like to see how your story grows. All right, friends, I see a lot of smiling faces. That makes me so happy. And maybe with all these questions I'm seeing here, we might have a follow-up workshop, right? You're going to come back with your stories, and then we're going to say, awesome sauce. Where should you take the story? Sorry, Jen, I just projected in the future there. All right, friends, tune in next week, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for part 1 of your story, looking at what it really means to have a recovery story. And we're going to start planning on the next workshop series. All right, friends, have a wonderful, awesome afternoon. It's been so great spending time with you. Yay. That was so awesome. Bye, friends. See you soon. I want to read this comment section. That was awesome.
That was great, Lauren. Thank you so much. And we're going to be sharing the PowerPoint too, if that's okay.
Yeah, please do.
All right, we'll figure out a way to get the PowerPoint to everybody and the recap recording of this as well. So join us back next week. And we are doing May 1 too, that last Friday, because we thought we had an extra day in April, but we will do May 1 too. So
awesome sauce. Expecting those emails. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off, Lauren, and we will talk soon.
Cool beans. Thank you.
Bye.